Imagine the one person you grew up with, the cousin you told all your secrets to, secretly forging your name to steal the one thing your family has held onto for 100 years.
That's what happened to me.
This isn't just a story about property fraud. It's a story of betrayal that cut deeper than any legal document ever could. That land wasn't just dirt and trees. It was my grandfather's legacy. It was where my dad taught me to skip stones, and it was the ground where I dreamed my own kids would play one day. It's been in our family for 4 generations, a constant in a world that never stops changing. And then, in the blink of an eye, a single sheet of paper filed in some dusty government office threatened to wipe all of that away. A piece of paper with my name on it, but not my signature. My own cousin had committed a breathtaking act of fraud to take it all. This is the story of that betrayal, and the intense legal fight I had to launch to prove the deed was a fake and get my family's land back. The discovery wasn't some dramatic confrontation. It was quiet, boring even, which made it all the more terrifying. I was just doing something responsible, something you're always told you should do, checking my property tax records online. I'd always been the one to handle the family's affairs, especially after my parents passed away. The land was officially in my name, a heavy but proud responsibility. As I scrolled through the county's digital files, my heart just stopped. Next to the parcel number for our family land was a name I didn't know. And next to that, a document I had never, ever seen before, a quitclaim deed. My hands started shaking. I knew a quitclaim deed is a fast way to transfer property, but I hadn't transferred a thing. I clicked the link, and a scanned image of the deed filled my screen. There it was in black and white. My name as the grantor, the person supposedly giving away the property. And the grantee, the new owner, my cousin Mark.
I just stared at the signature line.
It was my name, scrawled in a hasty, almost childish copy of my handwriting. It was close enough to maybe fool a stranger, but to me, it was a glaring, ugly fake. The document said I had transferred the whole 50-acre property to him for the grand total of $1. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of it. A mistake? Some clerical error? But the notary stamp, the date, the legal description of the land, it was all too perfect. This wasn't an accident. This was theft. The silence in my office was deafening as the weight of it all just crushed me. This paper, filed only 3 months ago, claimed I had willingly given away my family's entire history to the man I thought of as a brother. The legal stuff was terrifying, but the first thing that hit me was this gut-wrenching, physical pain of betrayal. This was Mark, the cousin I'd built forts with in the very woods he was now trying to steal. The guy who stood next to me at my father's funeral and told me we had to protect the family legacy together. We'd shared holidays, secrets, a bond built over a lifetime. That trust was the foundation of our family. And he'd just dynamited it. I started replaying the last few months. Were there signs? He had been asking weird questions about the property lines, about the old deeds my dad kept in his study. At the time, I thought he was just being nostalgic. Now I saw it for what it was, reconnaissance. He wasn't some stranger breaking in at night. He was a trusted insider casing the joint. He knew where the important papers were. He probably had access to my signature from birthday cards. Family fraud is a special kind of poison. The person who hurts you isn't some shadowy figure. They're someone you love, which makes the violation 1,000 times worse. That land was practically a member of the family. It held the echoes of laughter from generations of picnics and the quiet wisdom of ancient oak trees my great-grandfather planted. It was our anchor. The thought of it being stolen, not by some faceless company or a random thief, but by one of our own, it felt like a desecration. He wasn't just trying to steal land. He was trying to steal our memories, our identity. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there with the cold, hard fact that I was about to go to war with my own family. The next morning, the fog of shock and sadness burned off, leaving behind a cold, hard resolve. He was not getting away with this. My very first call was to a real estate attorney. I explained everything, my voice shaking with a mix of rage and fear. He was calm and methodical, the complete opposite of the storm inside me. He told me that while this was incredibly serious, the law was on my side. He said a forged deed is what's called void ab initio. He explained that it's a Latin term meaning it's invalid from the very beginning. A forged deed never legally transfers ownership, no matter how official it looks in the public record. But that didn't mean the fraudulent deed would just vanish. It was a cloud on the title, a dangerous stain that had to be legally scrubbed off. Following my attorney's advice, we took 3 immediate, critical steps. First, we went to the county recorder's office and got certified copies of everything, the fake quitclaim deed and, just as important, the valid deed that proved I was the legitimate owner. Second, we filed a police report for forgery. The officer warned me that these things often get treated as civil matters, but filing the report was crucial. It created an official record of the crime and showed I was treating this as the felony it was, not just some family squabble. Finally, I gathered every piece of evidence I had: old tax records, my dad's original deed, even old greeting cards with my real signature on them for comparison. We were building our arsenal for the fight ahead. With our first batch of evidence gathered, my attorney filed a lawsuit known as a quiet title action. He explained that a quiet title lawsuit is basically asking a court to make a final ruling on who owns a property and to quiet all other claims so they go away for good. This lawsuit would let a judge officially declare the forged deed invalid and confirm that I am the one and only owner. But we had a more immediate problem. What if Mark tried to sell the land to some innocent buyer or get a mortgage on it while we were waiting for a court date? To stop that from happening, we filed something called a lease pendens. Lease pendens is Latin for suit pending. By recording this notice with the county, we were putting the whole world on notice that this property was part of an active lawsuit. A lease pendens is like a giant red flag on the property's title that makes it almost impossible for anyone to buy it or lend money against it until our case was over. It effectively froze the property, stopping my cousin from cashing in on his crime. The heart of our legal case was simple but powerful. The deed was void ab initio. It was a legal nothing from the moment my cousin faked my signature. It wouldn't matter if he sold it to an innocent buyer. You can't pass good title with a forged document. The fake deed was a ghost with no legal power. All we had to do now was prove it in court. The burden of proof was on me. I had to prove, with clear and convincing evidence, that the signature on that deed wasn't mine. The absolute key to our case was a forensic handwriting expert. We hired a woman who'd spent decades analyzing documents for the FBI. I sent her dozens of examples of my real signature from all stages of my life: checks, contracts, my driver's license, old letters. She spent weeks with a forged signature under microscopes, analyzing the pen pressure, the slant of the letters, the tiny hesitations in the ink. Her final report was a masterclass in forensic science. She pointed out things I'd never have seen, like the unnatural slowness of the loops and the slight tremor in the lines, clear signs that someone was carefully copying a signature instead of writing it naturally. Her conclusion was decisive. The signature on the quitclaim deed was a forgery. We also subpoenaed the notary, whose stamp was on the deed. Her logbook had an entry, but the details were thin. When my attorney deposed her, her story was shaky. She claimed she didn't remember the transaction, a very convenient memory lapse. My attorney pushed her on whether she'd actually verified my ID, and her answers got more and more evasive. That, combined with the expert's analysis, painted a crystal clear picture of fraud. This whole nightmare taught me your most valuable asset can be stolen with a single piece of paper. It happens more often than you'd think. If you want to hear more stories about people fighting back to protect what's theirs, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. And if you've ever had a run-in with property fraud, share your story in the comments. You never know who you might be helping. The court date finally came. Seeing Mark across the courtroom, with his own lawyer, was surreal. He wouldn't look at me. His face was just a mask of denial. In his response to our lawsuit, he had the nerve to claim I'd given him the land as a gift and was just having second thoughts.
It was a pathetic lie.
Our handwriting expert was the star of the show. She walked the judge through every detail of her analysis, using enlarged photos and charts. Her testimony was rock solid. When Mark's lawyer tried to cross-examine her, she calmly and methodically took his arguments apart. By the time she stepped down, the truth in that courtroom was undeniable. In the end, the judge's decision was fast and final. He declared the quitclaim deed was a forgery and therefore void ab initio. He issued a judgment to quiet the title, officially confirming I was the sole owner of the property and ordering the court clerk to cancel the fraudulent deed from the public records for good. A wave of relief washed over me that was so strong it almost buckled my knees. It was over. The cloud on my title was gone. My family's legacy was safe. Walking out of that courthouse, I felt a deep sense of justice, but also a lingering sadness for a part of my family that was now gone forever. I got my land back, but the fight left scars that will never fade. My relationship with my cousin is completely destroyed, and a piece of my family has been cut away. This experience taught me some hard lessons, and I want to share them with you. First, guard your property documents like you guard your life. Keep the original deeds in a secure place, like a safe deposit box. Second, be proactive. A lot of counties now offer free property fraud alert services that notify you anytime a document is recorded in your name. Sign up for it. It could be your first and best defense. Third, if you even think something is wrong, act fast. Time is not your friend when it comes to fraud. Call a real estate attorney and report it to the authorities right away. And finally, the most painful lesson of all, don't assume your family is always a safe harbor. So often, financial abuse and fraud are committed by the people closest to us who take advantage of trust and access. Be aware, be vigilant, and protect what's yours. My story had a just ending, but it came at a huge cost. Don't let what happened to me happen to you.